What is going on, everybody? Welcome into episode 6 of the FanDuel Football Multiverse, where we explore various what-if scenarios and see how things could have been different across the NFL. Today, we're going to ask what if the Patriots were to sign Cam Newton this offseason. Cam is on the roster and starting as they face the Buffalo Bills. I am Jim Sonis, a senior writer and analyst at numberFire, joined here by JJ Zachariason, editor-in-chief of numberFire and FanDuel. JJ, Cam was cut by the Panthers as he is leading them out of the tunnel right now. Still looking for a job. This is really weird to see, but I love it. Here, we get to see Cam pilot this Patriots offense. What are you expecting?
Yeah, the football multiverse is all about having these what-if scenarios, and this what-if scenario in particular is more so what if the Patriots weren't tanking in 2020 by getting Cam Newton. Good to see, though, that in this game, as opposed to prior streams that we've done, the quarterback that's filling in is actually leading the team and is the clear leader as Cam comes out of the locker room there and out of the tunnel. So I'm excited to see what he can do.
I'm surprised and hurt it was not Cody Kessler leading the way out for the Patriots. It will take me a while to recover from that, but it will be fun to see Cam Newton back in a uniform because he's just like one of the most fun players to watch in the NFL. Josh Allen, pretty fun too for slightly different reasons, but it's fun to see players like Cam back out there because our exposure to Cam has been limited recently. He missed half of the year in 2018, missed almost all of last year. So seeing him back on a football field, even if it is a virtual football field, to me at least, will be a delight for sure.
Yeah, and what's interesting about this particular matchup with the Patriots and Bills is that you could argue pretty strongly that Josh Allen's best comp right now is Cam Newton in terms of how he produces points, his accuracy issues. So it's going to be interesting to see who can come up, who can finish on top in this game.
Yeah.
I kind of side with Cam given matchup, but I do think that weapons-wise, Josh Allen has a slight advantage maybe.
Yeah, unfortunately here he does not have Stephon Diggs yet. Stephon Diggs was traded after these rosters were set, so no Stephon Diggs, but John Brown, Cole Beasley, not bad when you compare them to the cast of characters that Cam will be playing with, because you look back to last year, when you watched Tom Brady last year, it didn't seem that bad as if it was like him personally dragging down the offense. It seemed like a lot of it was supporting talent. So the supporting talent for Cam, questionable for sure, as Tyler Kroft gets that reception for the Bills, a 15-yard gain, a first down for them. But I think that we can say that the supporting cast is questionable, but Cam himself, I think in the past, we've seen Cam, at least prime Cam, able to elevate the players around him at times.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, Cam Newton, especially the year that they went to the Super Bowl, Cam Newton did not have weapons. I mean, he had nothing. It was like Jericho Cotchery and I guess Kelvin Benjamin. Or no, that was the year that Kelvin Benjamin was hurt.
Yeah.
He really, Ted Ginn was his top option. I mean, and Greg Olsen, obviously. But Cam Newton's used to not playing with great weapons, so this is not a scenario where things are any different. And obviously New England has a good defense, or should in this game. And that's something that Cam was semi-used to, with Carolina and that front that they had for a while.
Cam was $14,500 on FanDuel for this game. Josh Allen, the same salary, which I thought was interesting. I think between the two, I would heavily lean towards Cam there. But it'll be interesting to see how many points we actually see, given that both these defenses are good and the scoring settings tend to lend themselves towards a lower scoring game. So defense could be a pretty big emphasis here. 2nd down and 6 for the Bills. Opening drive of the game, trying to get things going, and Allen does complete that one. I guess it's just Tyler Kroft's season. We're just going to feed him all day.
Apparently. Obviously, we know that here in 2020, Tyler Kroft wasn't that involved last year, but he also was banged up. But here in 2020, you have Dawson Knox, second-year tight end, who looked pretty good and flashed during his first season. And then obviously there's Stephon Diggs too. But, if there's more volume to go around in that Buffalo offense, I think that we would be a little bit more bullish on someone. Oh, there he goes. We'd be a little bit more bullish on someone like Dawson Knox in fantasy. Otherwise, I think he's more of an afterthought until we can see the target share be carved out there.
Yeah, the interesting thing about the Bills is that it always seemed as if they were content to run once they got a lead. Overall, like in a neutral script, they were kind of pass heavy last year, which I thought was super interesting. And it showed that I think the Bills front office understands what it's doing, and that is good for them. But once they got a lead, they were okay putting Josh Allen in a box and trying to limit the mistakes because he's a super volatile player, as we saw in that playoff game where he decided to do that weird lateral attempt. Big run there for Devin Singletary. No Zach Moss in town, so Devin Singletary playing, I guess we could say, lone fiddle. Frank Gore is there in this game still and will be in Madden 2037, I would assume, as well. But getting to see Devin Singletary here, too. So let's talk about Cam a little bit, because Cam's still unsigned, still looking for a job, and in theory, all 32 teams have their starters already chosen for the 2020 season. And now with COVID-19 limiting potentially training camps and OTAs and stuff like that, maybe tougher for Cam. Robert Foster back from the dead there as he gets a reception. But it could be tougher for Cam to find a starting job and get acclimated with an offense. So, JJ, when you look at someone like Cam right now with where we're at, is there an ideal destination, or is he just looking for the situation that's least the least bad, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that he's in an Andy Dalton type situation where he would take a backup role. And I think that there's still more upside inherently with Cam Newton as opposed to Andy Dalton.
For sure.
Even though I think Andy Dalton's fine. I look across the league, it looks like, New England makes a lot of sense, which is why this is what the Multiverse is showing. And this is why we're doing this stream, because Jarrett Stidham is probably the worst starter in the NFL right now on paper. And who knows, maybe he's good. I'm just saying, on paper, outlook-wise, all of that, Stidham probably is the worst. And then a lot of people are looking at Jacksonville, too, as a possible destination. I'm more bullish on Gardner Minshew and what he did last year. Some of his numbers are a little bit skewed and will regress. But I think that there's at least some, you want to see what you have in a player like that, because it's not like Jacksonville is going to be likely a playoff team anyway. So to me, it doesn't make as much sense to go that route. What I could see happening, especially in this season with what's going on with coronavirus and how there's so much up in the air. We don't know exactly even when the preseason's gonna start, and what's gonna happen when players contract it, because that's probably inevitable. What I could see happening is that in the middle of the season, someone takes a shot at Cam because either a quarterback gets the virus, and we see that happen more often than we think, or we obviously see quarterback injuries too. And if there's an injury to a team that's competitive, I mean, imagine last season if Ben Roethlisberger goes down and Cam Newton's a free agent. Maybe the Steelers go and make a move to get someone like Cam Newton instead of rolling the circus that they had behind center this past season. So I think that's probably the direction that we would go in. Or if that doesn't happen, then we're probably looking at 2021 as the first time we potentially see Cam Newton again.
Right, and I think that because of that component, it makes sense that Cam has been kind of slow playing things as they bring out Stephen Hauschka for a field goal here, rather than going for it on 4th and inches, even though you've got Josh freaking Allen, the tank, as your quarterback. Coach is conservative in Madden. So Stephen Hauschka, $9,500, getting the first points on the board there, putting the Bills up 3-0. But I think going back to Cam, there's no rush. Like, there is no reason for him to sign right now, because who is he competing with to sign? And now that Jameis Winston is signed, there's really nothing else out there. So you might as well take a wait-and-see approach, see if something happens in training camp. We've seen stuff, Teddy Bridgewater got hurt in training camp. Ryan Tannehill brought Jay Cutler out of retirement one year.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff can happen, and I think that that's especially pertinent this year when there will be weird training times. So I think there's just really no rush for Cam. And if you are a Cam fan, which I'm hoping a lot of you are, there's no reason to give up hope yet that he will be a starter in 2020, because there's still a lot of time and a lot of way things can change before the season begins. All right, there is Cam coming out to lead the Patriots for their first drive of this game. Those, of course, the 2018 stats. And that year, for the first half of the season, Cam was honestly playing really well, and then had that shoulder injury and suddenly just, wasn't the same player anymore. They even took him out for some Hail Marys, and the end of season stats weren't good. And then last year, the foot injury in the preseason and everything that happened after that. So we haven't really seen a fully healthy Cam Newton since the first half of 2018. Thankfully, Madden will give us that. So Patriots' first drive of the game here. And they go with the handoff to Sony Michel. And Sony Michel, about a 10-yard gain there. Nice way to start things off.
That's the most burst that we've seen from Sony Michel since his Georgia days. Yes. My goodness.
Absolutely. Speaking of injuries, derailing things, Sony Michel with the 9-yard gain there. This Patriots offense, an interesting one for sure from a DFS perspective, because we don't really know what they're going to look like with Cam Newton at quarterback. Of course, last year there were a lot of very interesting things with this team with Tom Brady, and it was hard for them to generate upside because they just couldn't move the football. Now they get Cam Newton, and I think I wouldn't classify Cam Newton necessarily as an upgrade over Tom Brady just because we know so little about where Cam is at, but it's at least... It's not Jarrett Stidham, I think, is the best way to put this.
Yeah, the one thing I would say too about this that we've kind of overlooked is that, Cam Newton can't run the same type of offense that Tom Brady can run. He's not necessarily this like West Coast style quarterback, and that could be a concern when you're looking at a simulation because it's not like they're going to adjust their offense based on Cam's attributes, or at least I would assume so. And so if they're using the same offensive coordinator, same coaches, which they are, that might spell a little bit of trouble for Cam Newton. We'll see on those shorter throws, which we know Tom Brady is a timing, methodical quarterback with his arm. If we see that with Cam, it could be trouble.
Yeah, for sure. It could definitely be interesting, and I am very curious what we're going to see out of Jarrett Stidham this year because we've been taught not to doubt the Patriots system. But they're going to test that pretty much to the fullest.
Here's the Patriots system this year. We're tanking for Trevor. That's right. That's what their system is this season.
All right, so it's 3rd down and 10. So we're going to see Cam open things up here. Plenty of time in the pocket, going downfield. Oh, just missing there. Believe that was Philip Dorsett he was trying to get. Let's let Cam throw on 1st and 10 rather than 3rd and 10, though. But a largely uneventful first quarter. Not a lot happening there. That was, or I guess that was Mohamed Sanu downfield.
Another move, by the way, that should make us question New England is the Mohamed Sanu trade from last year when they gave up a 2nd-round pick for him.
I think the justification for it was he had an extra year on his contract, so you're getting 2 years of Mohamed Sanu, but then you look at Mohamed Sanu's contract and realize he's not cheap, and the Patriots are, the reason that they haven't, or one of the potential reasons they haven't made a move at quarterback is they don't really have any cap space to do so. I know that they could maybe sign Joe Thuney long-term and potentially free up some space, but, the contract for Sanu is not good, which makes the 2nd-round pick and the justification for that 2nd-round pick a little bit harder to digest, I guess.
Yeah, and it's Mohamed Sanu. I mean, he's fine, right?
Right.
Mohamed Sanu's fine, but let's not overstate the impact that Mohamed Sanu can have on a football team.
Unless he's playing quarterback, because Mohamed Sanu as a quarterback is among the best players in NFL history. Long ball here, trying to go for John Brown, but Josh Allen overthrew him. There we go. There's the realism in Madden. Yeah, Josh Allen overthrowing someone downfield. Not a whole lot popping so far. A nice little run from Devin Singletary earlier on. A couple catches for Tyler Kroft. So everyone's lineup still in play as of right now as we get the second quarter going. The dynamic here for the Bills obviously going to change this here. Nice blitz pick up there by Devin Singletary as he finds Dawson Knox. Josh Allen, all about that tight end life so far in this game. Couple completions to Tyler Kroft, now 2 to Dawson Knox, but this Bills team will look different next year, JJ, because they add Stephon Diggs, and Diggs has always been in run-first offenses. We've never gotten to see what he could be in a high-volume offense. We won't see that this year either, but he is a difference maker, I think, from an efficiency perspective. He can open things up for other people, and he can elevate the play of Josh Allen. So this offense will look a lot different next year with Diggs being in town.
Yeah, Diggs plays all over the field, or he can play all over the field. He can be a nice deep threat, which obviously will, I think part of the reason why they did what they did to get Stephon Diggs is because they recognize that Josh Allen has flaws. Yeah. He has a big arm, but he's also last season was one of the least accurate passers on deep throws. So, arm strength doesn't necessarily equate to accuracy down the field. But if you get a dynamic playmaker like Stephon Diggs, of course they paid a high price, but you're going to get immediate production out of that 1st-round pick. with Diggs as opposed to drafting a guy to develop that you don't even know, has the ability that Stephon Diggs has. But I do think, if you're looking at it from a fantasy perspective, I think it's a downgrade for Diggs overall, just because the volume is going to be fairly similar as to what, probably a little bit lower than as to what he would have seen in Minnesota. I would argue that the quarterback situation isn't any better, even though there's at least a little bit more upside, or at least some upside with Josh Allen getting a little bit better as a player. I think Diggs and where his ADP is right now, just a little bit too much for me. He's probably someone that I'm going to be fading this year.
Josh Allen with the completion downfield there to John Brown. So he does find him this time. Josh Allen, decently efficient so far in this game, but it's been on some shorter passes. When he did open things up and go downfield, obviously overthrew John Brown, but does hit him there. Again, Josh Allen is $14,500 on FanDuel for the single game slate. I think that if you paid that salary, you're kind of hoping for a rushing touchdown. I'm not sure what the Madden version of Josh Allen does from a rushing perspective. Like, is he active with his legs, or as active as he is? Once again, finding Dawson Knox there, but a flag down on the play. Josh Allen loves some tight ends, apparently, and this one is going to come back, as it is holding on the Bills' offense. And the offensive line rebuilt last year for the Bills through cheap free agent deals, and they played really well. The problem was that they were so healthy. They did not have a single missed start due to injury for the entire season, and that doesn't really happen 2 years in a row. I know the Rams essentially did it 2 years in a row, the first 2 years that Sean McVay was there, but it hints at regression for that offensive line, and if they do regress, it could deter a little bit of the gain they get from adding Stephon Diggs. And running on 2nd and 20 is not going to help out the efficiency either.
Yeah. Well, now it's 2nd and 22, so 1st and 20.
Or 1st and 20,
still,
yeah.
Still just as bad. They need to not do that, especially because Devin Singletary he only had one decent run, and it was on a long, I think it was like a 2nd and long on that run. So Devin Singletary not having a great game. He's interesting, too, for fantasy purposes this year, Singletary is, because you have Zach Moss stepping in, playing that Frank Gore role, but I think anyone listening to this right now would agree with me when I say that there's more upside and potential with Zach Moss than there is for the 45-year-old Frank Gore last year. And Devin Singletary last season, his prorated target share was 11.5%, so not bad. So if he would have played the full 16 games, it would have been around 11.5%. But now you add Stephon Diggs, so that'll probably decrease a little bit. Zach Moss was still a decent pass catcher in college, despite the fact that he's a bigger-bodied guy. And Devin Singletary only had 2 goal line rushes last season. So I think it's a little scary, the Zach Moss move. At first, wow, there goes a nice little sack from Hightower. Look at that dance. But, you look at Singletary, he goes from a situation where, well, I'll say this. When they drafted Zach Moss, I assumed that people would be way, way low on Devin Singletary in fantasy football and in redraft leagues. But we're not seeing that at all, really. Right. I mean, he's still like a 5th rounder and 6th rounder, which is fairly high considering we know that he's more of a between the 20s type player with maybe some receiving upside, but he's also been really inefficient as a receiver dating back to college. So Devin Singletary, another guy in this Bills offense that I'm not that into, it's just one of those situations where there's just a lot of guys that should be fine, but it's hard to really envision a league winner there without an injury.
That drive was super interesting because first Josh Allen tried to thread one to Cole Beasley being covered by Stephon Gilmore, which is not advised. Josh.
Yeah, that's bad. Yeah.
Let's put the kibosh on that one, but also took a sack. It looked like he was going to take off and run, then took a sack leading to a punt, which brings Cam Newton back out there. But I think that the Devin Singletary discussion is extra interesting because it's not as if he was devoid of concerns even before they drafted Zach Moss, because Josh Allen is effectively a goal line back. Sure. There were so many times last year where Singletary would have really good usage. He would get used in the passing game, which is exactly what you want for fantasy. Another big run for Sony Michel, but he got usage in the passing game, but then they would get close to the goal line, and it'd be a run by Josh Allen, a gadget play for Isaiah McKenzie, or something like that, and it wasn't going to Devin Singletary. Like you said, just 2 goal line rushes last year. So now you take what was a concern and make it a legitimate negative, and you also take away some of the carries that he would have gotten too. So I think that what you're saying is justified, and it makes it really tough to gauge how we should view him. I was looking at our rankings earlier this week and kind of comparing where we were on the two. We're pretty even on Devin Singletary, and I think that I agree with your assessment that the market may be not factoring in for the concerns too much, which could just be because the middle tier at running back is terrible, as it always is. But I guess I agree that he's still going earlier than he should right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Cam was trying to find Julian Edelman on that first pass, inaccurate, and this one goes out towards the sideline. Is that a Sony Michel target? Did we just see one of the rarest events in all of sports? No, it's James White. Okay, so never mind. We did not see the white whale of NFL. But 3rd and 6, that's a second completion for Cam so far in this game. The Bills have been on the field a lot more, and that'll bring us to the 2-minute warning. But Cam, not quite cooking yet, and it definitely doesn't justify the Jarrett Stidham infatuation, but I think that, it's a tough start for Cam so far. The Jarrett Stidham thing is interesting because there have been so many reports from people who are, I don't want to say like Bill Belichick mouthpieces, but people closely related to Bill Belichick talking about how the Patriots, and that's another inaccurate pass from Cam, talking about how the Patriots are interested in Stidham. And my level of trust in those statements is low. I feel like it's kind of what you were saying, where it's kind of like the Minshew thing, where if he's good, cool, we got a good quarterback out of it. If he's not, cool, we get Trevor Lawrence instead. So it's an interesting one, and I have a hard time deciphering how much I should believe of what's being said.
Well, what's weird to me is that New England has a foundation where they could realistically be competitive if they had that quarterback, whereas Jacksonville's in shambles right now. I mean, they don't have a semblance of a defense really. And they're in truly in rebuild mode. Whereas New England, you can at least make the case one way or another. Now, with that being said, if I'm New England, I don't think this is a bad call to do what they're doing with Stidham. Because I think that you either go big or go home. It's the same deal with anything sports related. There's no reason to just live in purgatory and live in the middle for year after year after year. That's basically what it's been like to be a Buffalo Bills fan, essentially. And so, with what they're doing, it makes sense. It's just, it's going to be interesting, like you said, because it's not like we have that much information on Stidham and what he can do.
Absolutely. And even in college, the numbers on Jarrett Stidham there, at least at Auburn, weren't great. Before that, he was in a system that is conducive to efficiency, I think is the best way to put it. But then when he went to Auburn, in an offense that was not necessarily tailored to be good, things didn't quite go as well. So it's hard for me to have a great read on Stidham. And then there's also their actions dictated that maybe they weren't as into Stidham. Like last year, there was that game against the Jets. There's another completion there to Cole Beasley. There was that game against the Jets where they were just wiping the Jets. And Stidham came in relief of Tom Brady because the game was over effectively, threw a pick, and then got benched right away. And then I think it was that same week they signed Cody Kessler as a backup. That, to me, doesn't scream this guy can be our franchise quarterback. And I think that judging by their actions there, I'm less inclined to believe the discussion around Jarrett Stidham right now.
Yeah, well, there was the Chris Sims quote / interview this week where he seems to think that Stidham is better than Tua.
He said more talented, which I think is he's trying to use that as an out, but that doesn't work either because Tua is crazy talented.
Yeah. Well, it's the weapons conversation. It's the fact that Tua had look, no one's going to argue that Tua didn't have some of the best weapons, if not the best weapons in college football. Multiple first-round wide receivers.
Tua could have had the best weapons, even if you had taken Jerry Jeudy and Henry Ruggs off the team.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how good everyone was there.
Yeah, I get it, but at some point, it's not just the talent is the only thing that's elevating these guys.
Right.
But when I saw that quote and read the article, I was thinking to myself, okay, 3 years from now, that's gonna.
Robert Foster almost breaking through.
And I was reading the article, and I'm thinking, 2 years from now, that's 1,000,000% going to be on Old Takes Exposed. There's no doubt about it.
You're giving it 2 years, which I think is bold.
Yeah.
I'll take the under. But flashbacks to 2018 with Robert Foster there, who I think has more receptions in this game than he had in all of 2019. He's had 3 receptions.
This plays to my theory that talent at wide receiver in this game doesn't really matter in terms of how much volume that player sees.
No. Robert Foster has the most talent of any player in the entire NFL. It's actually the same number of receptions. that he had in 2019. He had 3 receptions, 64 yards. He's approaching the yardage total too. But like it seemed like every time Robert Foster was on the field, he'd run a go, and Josh Allen would overthrow him by 16 or so yards, give or take.
Yeah,
every time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Robert Foster was always fun to watch, and I'm glad that he's at least getting his shine here in these simulations, because obviously they're meaningful. Here goes Josh Allen on the rush attempt. Let's see if he can get in. He tried to do the Michael Vick juke that we had from last week. He's not Michael Vick. He is very athletic, but he's not Michael Vick. Couldn't quite make it work, but he does get them inside the 5, down to the 4-yard line with less than 40 seconds left here in this opening half of play.
It's nice try. It wasn't Mitch Trubisky bad, at least. What we saw.
Kind of surprised the Patriots haven't used their timeouts here. Try to get the ball back before the end of this first half. Very un-Belichickian of them. Now Josh Allen will run again, and this time he does get in. I think, no, he's short. Just barely. Now the Bills call a timeout. It'll be 1st and goal. Got to be from like the 1-inch line or so. But I thought he got in. He did not. So we'll see if the Patriots can make a stand here. But that's the Josh Allen rushing production you wanted. You paid $14,400 or $500 for him on FanDuel.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so they've got Devin Singletary in the backfield here. Maybe we can buck the narrative and get Devin Singletary a rushing touchdown. Nope, they don't want to do that. Instead, it's a Josh Allen drop back and into the end zone and a completion. It looks like to Cole Beasley for... No, he's short too. Okay.
That was short?
Bad.
How was that short?
They only have 11 seconds left. Or did he drop it maybe? Because the clock is stopped. He must have dropped it.
He must have, yeah.
Okay. So 2nd and goal, 11 seconds left, a second chance for Devin Singletary. I don't care if there are no timeouts left. Let's just get Devin Singletary a touchdown here. Let's make it happen. Allen still purveying the field and gets it to Foster, and it's short.
My goodness.
That's going to run out the half. That was the weirdest.
That was so bad.
Clock management and decision-making by Josh Allen. And, honestly, Josh Allen is a chaotic dude. So I can't even say it's unrealistic. You see, the chaotic evil, chaotic good charts. I'm not sure where he fits on the evil, neutral, good spectrum, but he is definitely in the chaotic column.
Oh, absolutely.
There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, remember the playoff game last year against the Texans, the little pitch that he tried to run.
That was right after people were like, "Oh yeah, Josh Allen has a lot of promise," and he's like, "Nope."
Yeah, it was amazing. It's so perfect. That's exactly what you get with Josh Allen, which we can say what we want about him as a quarterback and his inaccuracies and whether or not he's going to be successful, but he's fun as hell to watch. I love watching Josh Allen.
I live in Syracuse, New York, so I'm 2 hours from Buffalo. I get to watch every Bills game on the local TV selection because of that, and I can't complain, honestly. Their brand of football, where they're not super high scoring, they've got a good defense, is not the most thrilling, but Josh Allen, for better or for worse, is fun. He's fun because he does a lot of stupid stuff, too. It's not just because he can make really fun plays. But I want to watch fun. That's why I was excited when the Broncos decided to roll with Drew Lock, because Drew Lock, it has a lot of Josh Allen in him, where he's going to make some really stupid plays, but they're going to be hilarious, and he can mix in some really special plays alongside that, too.
Right.
Do not forget, we have moved the FanDuel Football Multiverse to 2 times per week. You can find all those right here on the FanDuel YouTube page. Make sure you are subscribed so you get notifications as we go live each night. We are back once again tomorrow. We're going to play another Patrick Mahomes situation out. Last time, we played out what it would look like if the Chicago Bears had drafted Mahomes instead of Mitch Trubisky. This time, we're keeping Mahomes on the Chiefs, but we're taking away all of his weapons. There is no Tyreek Hill, no Travis Kelce, no Sammy Watkins. We're making Patrick Mahomes run with kind of a skeleton crew here and see what he can do without his dynamic pass catchers. That'll be tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern, right here at the same place. You can put in that contest as well at FanDuel.com.
So I'm really looking forward to that. I should say that first. But taking away Sammy...
That energy has to be accounted for. I don't know if we can get our analytics people on this, account for strange energy. Yeah. But I think we need to find a way to account for that.
We also need a category in Madden for wokeness, just to see how people would be rated with that. I think that would be fun too.
Yeah, absolutely. Because Watkins, he knows about the aliens. He's just mentally prepared, and that does matter. Oh, it's Cam Newton throws a pick. What a play there by Tre'Davious White. No shocker who it was who got the pick, but Tre'Davious White getting the pick and getting the ball back to the Bills. So the Cam Newton experiment here with the Patriots, not off to a great start. Have they gotten a first down yet?
I'm not sure. I don't know. He might still. I don't even know. But Tre'Davious White is, to me, an interesting candidate for Defensive Player of the Year this year.
Okay.
Because of what we saw last year with Gilmore, we don't always see. We don't see cornerbacks get that award very often. And a lot of people were looking at like T.J. Watt last season as potentially the Defensive Player of the Year. But we're seeing a shift in how people view the cornerback position in football and the importance of it. And Buffalo, as we know, I think that from a betting perspective, Buffalo makes sense as a no to making the playoffs, just in terms of the juice that you get with it.
Right.
But we also are cognizant of the fact that Buffalo could win this division this year, right? And if they end up winning the division, it's not hard to imagine a guy on a playoff team that does decently well, who's being the best player on that defense and playing in a position of importance, winning that award. And he's a beast. He's a freak.
Yeah, he's 29-1 to win right now at FanDuel Sportsbook. Another completion there to Robert Foster, who is now over his 2019 totals in this one game. So Robert Foster back in our lives. Tre'Davious White 29-1 to win Defensive Player of the Year. My favorite fits into a lot of similar categories as Tre'Davious White, where could be a playoff team, plays an impactful position, is in a stats padding position as well, where he can get like tangible stats that voters can recognize. That's Myles Garrett. He's 33-1.
I like that too. Yeah.
And I think because he was so good last year before the suspension, the only concern I have is, would there be any lingering like bad sentiment towards Myles Garrett because of the Mason Rudolph incident, where voters might not vote for him because of that? But outside of that, I've got nothing. He's 33-1. I think the Browns have a good shot to make the playoffs. He is a tremendous individual player as Frank Gore just gets stuffed on the 3rd and 1 attempt. And I believe it's going to lead to another Stephen Hauschka field goal attempt. So you Hauschka users out there, Hauschka MVP people, just giddy. I guess Robert Foster might be the MVP so far, but
like if this game were happening on a random NFL Sunday and we were watching NFL Red Zone, we wouldn't even know that this game existed.
I don't think either. Oh, I guess there was that one Red Zone trip for the Bills. Outside of that, I don't think they've actually been to the Red Zone.
No.
But Hauschka comes on here. The suspense, it's palpable, and he nails it. So Stephen Hauschka with another field goal to put the Bills up 6-0 with 2:48 left here in the third quarter. Robert Foster, really good game from him so far. We've seen Tyler Kroft and Dawson Knox get some volume, but outside of that, not much going for the Bills. On the Patriots side, there's been nothing, honestly, from a fantasy perspective so far. And I guess I should mention Josh Allen. Josh Allen himself has been pretty solid. He's been completing passes, been racking up passing yardage. Just no touchdowns yet. And touchdowns are such a big key for scoring in fantasy out of quarterbacks. So we'll see if we can get some Cam Cook in here. I want to see Cam run a bit too.
We had I'm taking the L with Cam at the beginning of this game, saying that I would play Cam.
I would have played him over Josh Allen in a heartbeat.
I don't see him overcoming this the way that he's been playing.
I mean, with the weapons of Philip Dorsett, Julian Edelman, and Mohamed Sanu, I guess it makes sense. 1 of 5 for 4 yards and a pick. That is
not great, Bob.
Suboptimal, to say the least.
You can't forget about Ben Watson, though, either.
I can.
So there are certain players who I don't like because of their name and spreadsheets and the different sources that I grab stats from. And Ben Watson is one because some have him as Benjamin and some don't. It's the same that goes for the guys who are like the third or juniors and stuff. It's very, very obnoxious. Or idiots that go by initials as their first name. I mean, who goes by JJ?
Who does that? Yeah,
what a moron.
And you have to know, like, do they use the periods? Do they not use the periods?
Yeah, I question people who use the periods, though. As someone who doesn't use periods.
A character red flag for you?
It is. It's a really big deal to me. But at least whenever you went and did like a Scantron test or something for school, you had to put your first name, your full first name, so you didn't have to deal with the periods. Yeah. But I did in elementary school go with periods back in the day. So all my childhood stuff, like my artwork and stuff, I don't know what that throw was.
I don't know what Ben Watson was doing, not trying to turn up,
go upfield. All my elementary school projects, my artwork and stuff, all have J period. I think I made the switch maybe in middle school.
You just want to be more efficient.
I mean, look, it just looks better, I think. You don't have the weird spacing.
I distinctly remember when I was in kindergarten, I finished. Oh, that's a completion to Julian Edelman.
How was that a catch?
Nice pass from Cam. Nice catch by Edelman, too. But I remember in kindergarten, I finished up an assignment early and was sitting there and waiting for everyone else to be done. And I was bored, so I wrote the
overachiever.
Yeah.
Wow, humble brag here, guys.
Yeah, just making hay. But I was bored, so I wrote the MY at the end of my name. So I made it Jimmy. And my teacher mentioned it, and it embarrassed me so much, I have never allowed anybody outside of my sister to call me that ever since.
I feel like people have that with their names. Like there's certain nicknames and stuff that some traumatic event happened in their life. That was
traumatic for me.
Yeah, because you were publicly called out and shamed by going by Jimmy instead of Jim. I mean, I think that a lot of people have that. Like if people call me my first name, which I'm not going to say on air because I'm ashamed by it, I feel this just weird. I just don't like it.
It also just shows that they don't know you.
That's true too.
It exposes that as well.
I'll tell you what the worst thing in the world is. My last name being Zachariason is if you call me Zach. If you call me Zach.
But you realize by saying this publicly, more people are going to call you Zach.
Anyone who calls me Zach on Twitter is being blocked immediately. That's the game that I play.
I love it. I also understand it as another big burst from Sony Michel. Looking spry, 5 carries, 37 yards for him. He might be the highest scoring Patriot so far in this game.
I think so. Maybe Edelman on that one. No, wouldn't have been the 3.7 though.
Yeah, but just a weird game for the Patriots so far. But yeah, it just kind of exposes that they don't know you. Like telemarketers, it's always the big takeaway.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, you're right. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just realized why I realized what my traumatic moment was. I had a gym teacher in 6th grade who called me Zachy.
Oof.
Yeah, and now I'm reliving this. I might have to stop this stream and walk away for a little bit.
That's weird, given that your name is not Zach. But I've been listening. I don't know if you ever watched the show Scrubs, but they're doing a podcast about it, and John C. McGinley, who played Dr. Cox, is on for one of them, and he called Zach Braff Zachy, and it shook me to my core to hear someone called the name Zachy. So that was bad to begin with, but then you add on the fact that your name's not even Zach.
I get it. Rough. It's rough.
It is.
Rough. Meanwhile, I call you Jimbo all the time in our Slack and stuff.
I used to work at a daycare. I've been called literally everything you can possibly concoct in your head, so I that one's okay. I think that might have been Benjamin Watson again. Yeah, so ever since we talked about Benjamin Watson, he's been getting volume here. 3rd and 1, the Patriots trying to get on the board at the start of the 4th quarter here because nothing's happened yet, and that hurts Cam's fantasy outlook, $14,500. It is a tough sell for him to pay off that salary with such little time left. 5:30 left. Cam does get the handoff there to Michel. I believe that was Michel in a long game there. That was James White. So 4 carries, 19 yards. Both the running backs doing work here for the Patriots. That offensive line no longer led by Dante Scarnecchia as he's decided to retire after 2019. But hey, in the game, Dante Scarnecchia is still there, and the offensive line opening some holes.
Where do you have the Patriots? Because you do our offensive line rankings over on numberFire. Where do you have the Patriots offensive line ranked this year? Yeah, I mean, I know that you probably don't have it in front of you, so I just put you in a weird spot. But
no, they're 4th.
4th? Okay.
Because Isaiah Wynn played pretty well last year when he was healthy. David Andrews got a clear bill of health, so he will be back as well. The question mark is, do they stay as good without Scarnecchia? But from a player level perspective, all the pieces they need to be. Oh, and Michel fumbles. It's picked up by the Bills. That is brutal. That is a tough break for the Patriots because they were driving inside the 20, but then Michel loses. Let's see if it's out before he hits the ground. I couldn't see it from that angle if it was out before he was down. Maybe this angle will show us better. I think he was down. I think that forearm.
It might have been.
So
you usually can tell in Madden, like we've talked about before,
right.
where there's like that frame switch. Yep. But I didn't really see it there, so who knows?
Josh Allen's on the field. I don't think that means anything. Michelle's back out there. All right, so Michelle is playing defense now. It looks
unless both offenses are just going to play against each other, and then whoever wins this.
Can we get someone to do that for us? Like, what if the Patriots offense played defense for them and see what that looked like? I would have no objections personally.
I think I think people watching this would love to have an offense against, or just only offensive players playing defense, just to get a little bit more scoring.
Could the Patriots offense led by Jarrett Stidham move the ball against the defense led by Jarrett Stidham? That's the real question.
Exactly.
Looks like they did overturn. All right, so the Patriots will get the ball back. 2nd and 5. That puts Michelle back up to 4.2 FanDuel points because he had the 5-yard run there. 42 rushing yards for him. Now let's see Cam. Let's give the ball to Cam here as they have run more than they've passed so far in this game. Let's unleash Cam.
I want to see this play before I make a comment.
And they go to the end zone.
There we go.
Ben
Watson, baby.
Giving the double-barreled middle fingers to us for talking trash on him before. Benjamin Watson, don't retire, man. Come back. You still got it.
Yes, sir. Great play. So I was looking back at so Bill Belichick. He's not in this game, right? Is that the case?
He usually isn't. I don't know if he is for this one specifically, but he usually is not.
Yeah, because the player union stuff or however it works.
Yeah, I don't know how.
Someone's gonna yell because I don't understand it fully. Because like Michael Jordan and Barry Bonds did that throughout.
John Dowd in MVP Baseball 2005.
Yeah, right.
Was the best.
Right. They just didn't join whatever union they had to join. But I love that they made Bill Belichick. I think that's who they keep cutting to. But I love that they made him look like Jimmy Garoppolo. Like he's this like incredibly handsome Italian man who's on the sideline.
Are we sure it's not Jimmy Garoppolo?
Like Ben Watson is absolutely older than Bill Belichick in this game.
Well, the fun thing is, JJ, next week, I wasn't going to talk about this because we still have tomorrow's stream before we get to this point, but next week, that is a handsome man. Okay, all right. Yeah. Chiseled jaw, it does a little bit of GG in it. I like it, okay. Next week, though, we're going to come back to the Patriots, and we're going to see what it would happen if they had kept Jimmy Garoppolo and have him face the Tom Brady-led Buccaneers. So we're going to get to see Jimmy G and fake Jimmy G, like Gimme Garoppolo, I'm assuming is the name of the Patriots head coach here. Yeah. We're going to see what they would do in that situation.
Yeah, twins.
Going to be a lot of fun. Ooh. Another fumble is picked up by the Patriots, and they return it inside the 20.
That's big for fantasy, too, because they could have probably taken that back, and there was just a little bit of a stutter. Right. And now they're going to get some potential points out of this.
So you can still get that Cam Newton selection to pay off. He might have been down. I guess hard to tell from that angle. He ran into his own dude before he could score. Let's see here. And, that's going to be
I think it's
close.
out. I think
you're right, because he had his arm, as I'm motioning like this, which people can totally see, I'm sure, in the tiny frame. I think he had his arm on the ball before the knee hit the ground. They're going to review it because it is a turnover, but I wouldn't be shocked if this one stands. So it's another chance, like you said, for the Patriots offense to rack up points. And, like, from a fantasy perspective, like if you're playing DFS and, like, let's say you stacked a game, a fumble return for a touchdown is, he's down. Oh, no, I don't know. Depends on the ball came out.
I'm saying fumble.
But a fumble return for a touchdown is literally the worst outcome if you stack the team that returns
the worst.
For a touchdown.
It's so frustrating.
And, like, it's kind of okay for the other team because, like, they get the ball back right away, but it also puts them in a negative game script, which is not optimal. So it's just bad all around when that happens.
Oh, reversed.
Okay, so the Bills will get the ball back. It's not a high-scoring game, but it's a fun game, 7-6 at least, with 4:14 left in the fourth quarter. And now we got to see Josh Allen make some money here, Josh.
I hope he throws a pick six here.
He did the Trubisky where he spun around, but a long no.
Hold on to the ball. Come on, Smokey.
A perfect throw to a wide-open John Brown. Couldn't haul it in, though.
John Brown doesn't do that, though, in real life.
That's true. John Brown has never dropped a pass in his life. Never. Statistically. I'm just going to go with that one. No, don't fact check me, bro. But a good pass from Josh Allen. Honestly, a good game from Josh Allen. He had that one bad drive as a screen here. Completes it out to Singletary, and Singletary, I thought he was going to run right out of bounds.
So it's like, dude, you still got 4 minutes on the clock. You're fine.
But Josh Allen's played pretty well in this game.
Yeah,
they
has.
Go deep very often, but he's played well.
Especially against a good secondary.
Yeah, absolutely. Once again, we will be back again tomorrow, though, for night number 2 of this week's FanDuel Football Multiverse. Patrick Mahomes with no weapons. And Singletary not going to get it as he is stopped short, which means it's 4th down. I probably would have thrown in that situation, but regardless.
They'll punt.
Yep, they will punt here because that's just how the Madden coaches work. But tomorrow night, back again at 8 p.m. Eastern time here on the FanDuel YouTube page, Patrick Mahomes throwing to Byron Pringle. I guess Mecole Hardman would be the headliner there. Mecole Hardman, Byron Pringle, DeMarcus Robinson, Blake Bell, going to be starting at tight end, I think, for the Chiefs. I believe the full depth charts are posted on the FanDuel Football Multiverse page, so you can check out those there before you fill out your lineups. Edelman returning this punt, and he gets taken down right away, but Patriots can now go into clock-killing mode. But tomorrow should be pretty fun to see what Patrick Mahomes can do. They're facing the Eagles, so which is interesting because it's Patrick Mahomes with no weapons against Carson Wentz, who last year had no weapons.
Yeah,
I think that's
true.
a fun little matchup there for sure. You can still get your lineups in at FanDuel.com to submit for those, and then make sure you tune in to the FanDuel YouTube page 8 p.m. Eastern tomorrow night and subscribe so you get that one right as it goes live. All right, 1st and 10 here for the Patriots. 3:28 left in the 4th quarter, up by a point. So we should see more Sony Michel, but instead we see more Cam Newton as he dumps it off, and a completion looks like to Sanu. Yeah, to Sanu. Cam's picking things up. He was 1 of 5, but he's completed 6 straight since then, including that touchdown to Benjamin Watson, the only score so far in this game.
Yeah, he's looking a little bit better. Josh Allen has been better from like a real football standpoint, but their lines are probably a little bit comparable right now just because Cam got that touchdown to Ben Watson.
Right, that's an automatic 4 points on FanDuel and a big boost for sure for him. All right, so 1st and 10 as the Pats pick up the first down, and importantly, allow the clock to keep on running as well. As they're down to 2:42 left. Another big hole for Sony Michel. Shrugs off the tackle. Oh, James White. Okay, I was going to say, the elusiveness there was not characteristic of Sony Michel. It makes more sense now that it's going to be James White.
They're using James White more on the ground than I thought that the simulation would, to be honest with you. Because of the way they designate players in this game as like 3rd down backs and stuff. I'm just surprised that White has 5 carries in a truncated game, of course, because it's not 15-minute quarters.
But then he's justifying that by showing some moves.
Yeah.
James White, for this game, his salary was $10,000. Sony Michel was $12,000, and they've been fine so far, but neither really paying off that salary. I guess most people outside of Stephen Hauschka haven't really paid off their salary. And Ben Watson was $9,500, which was more expensive than I would have thought he would have been, I guess. But hey, it paid off. A couple of catches on that last drive, including a touchdown.
Yeah, he's been the guy for New England for sure.
Past the 2-minute warning now, and the Patriots on the Bills side of the field. Bills still have all 3 touchdowns. This game is not over yet. Cam runs play action all the time in the world, misses Watson there. Watson was open. Micah Hyde was kind of sprinting over there. It looked like he might have had a read on it, so maybe a good thing that he overthrew him. But 2nd and 10, and the clock stops. The Bills get to keep an additional time out there because of the incompletion.
Yeah. I thought that could have been a disaster if that was on target.
We don't have a ton of time left here, JJ, but I do want to get your thoughts on this Patriots offense under the assumption that Jarrett Stidham starts, because quarterback play dictates so much in fantasy. It dictates touchdown expectation. It dictates efficiency from a yards per attempt perspective. Quarterback play matters a lot, and we don't know if Stidham will be good, but I think the baseline assumption is that the efficiency will not be great for this offense. So how are you viewing guys like Michel, like Julian Edelman, and the others, knowing that it's most likely going to be Stidham as a starter?
Yeah, I mean, look, I would say that I'm generally avoiding them in drafts. But with that being said, I think that there goes a 3rd down attempt that was a failure. But
stops the clock again, too.
Yeah. I will say, though, that I think that a lot of those players, like Sony Michel, Julian Edelman, maybe even N'Keal Harry to a degree, I think it's very possible and maybe even probable that they're able to exceed expectation where they're being drafted in fantasy. So from that perspective, they're sort of values. But I don't see a clear path to a decent ceiling for these guys. And, if I'm drafting Julian Edelman in the 7th or 8th round or any wide receiver, I'm looking for a ceiling. I want someone who has more potential than Edelman does. Maybe a better example is Sony Michel, where we know that he's likely going to be touchdown dependent. I've seen a lot of people touting Michel, and it's great. Like, you can like Michel. Me personally, the way they've used him as a receiver, and we know that he's been relatively touchdown dependent. That role in New England has been really touchdown dependent over the last decade. And those touchdowns are likely not going to be there just given their quarterback situation. It's just, how do you have that much confidence that he's going to be that true league winner for you, especially when there's a lot of good sort of zero RB type options in the middle rounds this year. A lot of the rookie backs are there. I like Tevin Coleman a lot, who will go, in that range. There's just a lot of guys that you can get instead of Michel, which is why I'm more so on the fading side as opposed to targeting him.
And they're just in better backfields where the path to them being like a really good asset is a lot more clear, and a face mask penalty there on the completion to Singletary. But you kind of want to, you've written about this, you want to look for situations where maybe there's a bit of an ambiguous backfield, whereas like the Patriots, we know what the backfield's going to look like, and you want to target high-scoring offenses. The Patriots weren't that last year with Tom Brady. It's hard for me to believe they'll be that with Jarrett Stidham next year.
Yeah, and the thing is, the middle and late round running backs that hit and that exceed expectation by a large amount, they have a very distorted proportion of targets that go to them versus running back rushes. The ratio of rushes to targets is a lot lower than it is other running backs who end up hitting. So that's just to me a very clear reason to sort of stay away from Michel this year.
This Madden Patriots team maybe they're missing Bill Belichick here, the actual Bill Belichick, because they've been very un-Belichickian. That's a weird word to say. But they've stopped the clock by going out of bounds on 3rd down. They've stopped the clock with incompletions. They stopped the clock with the face mask penalty. And the Bills running no huddle. They still have 2 timeouts left, and they only need a field goal. Stephen Hauschka maybe getting another field goal attempt here as Singletary picks up the 1st down. This is risky. Hauschka, get that leg warmed up, man. MVP chance. I can hear him coming from chat right now. MVP, Stephen Hauschka, let's go.
This has to be the closest game that we've had with these streams. I think by far. So that's fun, at least.
Yeah, absolutely. We're getting a competitive game here, and the Bills let the clock run and then call timeout because
they lost about 20 seconds there. No big deal.
The algorithm dictated it be so. But still 31 seconds left. They are already in Patriots territory and down by just 1 point. You've got John Brown. You've got apparently Tyler Kroft is a superstar now. Even Madden has like the field goal stripe, and I like it. All right. So Allen drops back to pass. All the time in the world, and he completes it. That's going to put them in field goal range. Robert Foster again.
Huge.
Wow.
Huge
6
play.
catches, 92 yards. That is 12.2 FanDuel points for Robert freaking Foster. Undertaker.gifting.
Yes.
If I verb that correctly. As he comes back.
Like, think of it. Robert Foster is doing what a large proportion of fantasy Twitter thought he would do last year. Robert Foster was a very popular later round pick last year.
I think I had enough best ball shares where it hurt to watch him be overthrown every week.
Ooh, icing.
What are you doing?
Kicker.
You need those time. You can use those timeouts.
Icing the kicker. They should have called timeouts earlier, honestly.
They miss Belichick. I'm just going to go with that. Fake Jimmy Garoppolo is not doing any favors here.
The Jimmy Garoppolo imposter is not coaching this team as well.
We have seen a couple of blocked kicks in these Madden simulations, so things definitely not done yet. We'll see how things play out here. All right, Hauschka lines up for a 42-yard field goal attempt, which is an extra FanDuel point there because it's a long enough field goal. And it is good.
Wow.
The Bills go up 9-7 with 8 seconds left. Stephen Hauschka, money in the bank for those of you who used him at $9,500.
The Bills actually made a clutch field goal. It's good. You love to see it.
Wow, opening really deep wounds with the Bills Mafia. All right, let's see if fake Jimmy Garoppolo can generate a comeback attempt here for this Patriots offense. At least hopefully this is like prime cam where he doesn't need, was it Derek Anderson to come in and attempt the Hail Mary for him?
Hail Mary.
Can't remember if it was Derek Anderson or not, but those were grim days. They were grim days. Julian Edelman returning kicks, because why not? We'll see what happens here. There's still time. Still 2 timeouts left. And they do a short kick. It's Edelman has to return and burn some clock. And they're going to have time for one play. One play from the 31-yard line. Did you ever have any fun plays you concocted for situations like this where it's just kind of just see what happens effectively?
I remember building plays and making plays in older versions of Madden, when they allowed you to do it. That was a lot of fun. But I'm assuming they're just going to go 4 verts and see what happens.
I would always just run practice mode on the NCAA football games and just run Hail Marys over and over. Oh, Edelman was there. If the ball hadn't been deflected as far, Edelman could have gotten it, but it was deflected too far away. And that ends it. The Bills win 9-7. Cam Newton got the touchdown pass to Benjamin Watson, but nothing else cooking outside of that. The big players in this game, Robert Foster, over 10 FanDuel points, Stephen Hauschka, and Benjamin Watson, exactly as all of you expected, as those guys all came through. But JJ, final thoughts for you as the Patriots fall here 9-7, led by Cam.
Little surprised that Cam did as poorly as he did, but I'm blaming the imposter head coach not being Bill Belichick as the reason why New England lost.
Yeah, absolutely, because the real Cam, we want to see him play some football. Hopefully he signs soon and we can see him as a starter once again soon. Do not forget that we have another stream coming up tomorrow night. Once again, 8 p.m. Eastern, right here on the FanDuel YouTube page. Patrick Mahomes with no weapons at his disposal. Hopefully Mahomes can generate some more points here than Josh Allen and Cam Newton did. To get entered, go to FanDuel.com, check out, I believe it's under ENFL. You can find that there for the free play, and then also come back to the stream 8 p.m. Eastern tomorrow night. Big thank you to Calvin Theobald, our video producer, for on the video side of things here today. For JJ Zachariason, I am Jim Sada saying so long. We'll see you tomorrow night on the FanDuel Football Multiverse.